Alright guys, so this video I'm going to be showing you guys how to install the ambient lights on a C300 coupe, sedan, GLC. But before we get into it, let's talk about some downsides. It's advertised as a 64 color kit. It's not 64 colors. It's got like 8 or 10 individual colors. And also for me, what I noticed is at night sometimes the lights will flicker. They'll turn off and they'll turn back on again. It happens every once in a while. Not all the time, and it's not always the same door that does it. So these are the tools you're gonna need. You're gonna need a T20, T30, and a screwdriver, Phillips head. Soldering kit doesn't necessarily have to be power probe, but this is the one I use with this end on it to melt the plastic. Cutters, 10mm socket, and this plastic trim tool. This one's from Harbor Freight. It comes in a kit. You're also gonna need a little pocket screwdriver like this one. So the first step's going to be to disconnect the battery. You just have to undo these clips that are on here. If you have a 2015, you might have 5 of these on this cover. Take that off. Take off your cabin filter cover. You're going to want to just take the negative end off so you don't accidentally set any fault codes. Pop this cover on there. We'll start with the driver's door. The steps are pretty much exactly the same for all the doors. There's going to be 2 T30s, one right there, and then one hidden way under there. Just gonna want to take those T30s out, and then we'll get the door off. Once you have the screws out, I'm gonna take your plastic trim tool, and I start right here. Just start popping the door panel off all around the edges until you get it all the way off. Once you have the door loose like this, you want to start by prying first on this end and pull it all the way off of this strip right here, starting from this end. Just like that. I want to disconnect these 2 connectors right here, these 2 blue ones that are connected to the door. We'll disconnect these speakers as well. Once you have those connectors off, take your door cable off, a little pocket screwdriver, pop this end off. Just be very careful you don't break your handle off. Next, we're just going to take this insulation off so we can get to the connectors and the wood panel. So my kit's already installed, but you should have 4 of these little boxes. They're gonna have little labels on them. I used the Google Translate app to try and see what they say, because it does matter where these go. They have a specific door. Once you get it on there with the tape, you're gonna want to disconnect this connector here, this white one right there. You pop this one in to that same slot, and then just connect it right there onto the aftermarket module, just like that. So then you should have, this is where I taped mine, probably use the same spot, and then you should have this connector here that's extra that you probably won't need unless you get the other options, and then these 2 lights are what give you your color on the door panel. Now, as far as getting the wood panel off, this is going to be the trickiest part. You just got to be careful that you don't accidentally bend this speaker cover. They're very soft and easy to bend if you're pushing on it too hard. So we're going to want to disconnect these connectors here. So the way I did it is first just started by tucking this under here and then flipping the door panel around. Basically what we need to do is disconnect all of these little clips that are holding on the wood panel. Just be careful because they are kind of fragile. It's just plastic and they're pretty easy to break. So the way I do is pry on the little plastic trim tool and then push up and down on this on these clips at the same time, and it should pop right off. Just like that. So you know, we got one off. Now we can slide the trim tool a little further down and do the rest of them. Take your time, be careful because the plastic does break if you're not careful. Alright, so now that I have the wood panel off, you can see these little clips. That's what's holding on to the door panel. And now what we're going to do is change out the silver trim on the bottom. Like I said, mine was already installed before, so it's going to be kind of hard to show you exactly how to do it, but pretty much what you have to do. So the silver trim is going to have these little black things everywhere. What you're going to want to do is pretty much take your cutters and cut around them and get all the silver plastic off. You have to try and save the little tabs that are there, save as many as possible. when I did this, that one broke off, but I was still able to save most of them. See, this one was broken off, so I couldn't do anything with that, and that one I was able to save. If you break all of them off, you are going to need a new wood panel, and also we're going to have to take out these controls here. So to take it out, it's pretty simple. Just pop the tab up. There's 2 tabs here, and then a third one here, and it comes right out. So now this one is the same way. Pop this tab off. You just want to push up on it at the same time, just so it doesn't lock again. So once you eventually get the silver trim off, you're going to be left with those little ends on there. They kind of almost look like that. Now is where you're going to need your soldering iron to melt these back into place. It has to be remelted enough so that this doesn't move. And like I said, you need to save as many as you can, because otherwise you can see here where it's broken, it's kind of loose right there because I wasn't able to melt it back together. So once you have your everything installed and you have your seat controls, just push it back in. Make sure that all the clips go back into place. It can get kind of tricky, so if it helps if you have 2 people. Basically, we want to get all of these to line back up here again and get the wood panel nice and secure. So what you want to do here for this light is take your little screwdriver, wedge it in there, and pop this light off. We don't need this anymore, so we could just tuck this into here because the kit has a replacement that goes right there. Also, don't forget to put the insulation back on. Now take the new harness, pop it on there. That's for your door handle. Take the other end, the longer end, and then that pops onto the actual door light right there. We're going to want to plug our controls back in here, and then we'll start putting it back together. And now we're just going to do everything in reverse order. Plug in our speaker, plug in our blue connectors onto the door. They only go on one way, so you really can't get it wrong. And then most importantly, don't forget to plug your door handle itself back in, otherwise you won't be able to open the door once you put the panel back on. And if you have some zip ties, maybe you want to tie this up a bit, clean it up a bit, but for me this is fine. Just tuck this over here, and then we can put the door panel back on. Sometimes these clips will fall out or they'll get stuck in the door. Before you pop it on, just make sure that they're all where they need to be, otherwise you might get a couple rattles. Take your door, slide it over the lock, and then it's just the same thing except in reverse order. Start with this end first, and just push it on until you hear it click. Next, we're going to take both of these covers off on the driver's side and the passenger side. There are T20 screws that need to be taken out, and then we can take this cover off. And then there's another one right over there. So now if you order this kit, you should have this adapter here. It plugs into the OBD with all these extra harness right here. What we're going to want to do is pull this back, that little clip for the OBD, and you just pull it straight out and it comes right out. Then we plug this end into our new harness, and then this end goes back right into where we just pulled that connector out of. Make sure it's all the way down, otherwise the lock won't close, and you just push this back in and that's it. The lights, take your little screwdriver and you just push this side in and it should pull down so you can get the light out and change the bulb. You're basically going to reuse the housing, but you're going to put the LED bulb in that comes with the kit. So next, what you're going to want to do is take the old bulb out. I already did it, so I already have the new LED in, but you take this piece that comes in your kit, push it in, turn it till it locks, and you just pop it back in. The same for the passenger side. You're going to want to take that panel out too, because you're going to have to run this harness in through here. So as far as taking the center console apart, we're going to need that plastic trim tool again. Sneak it in right under there. It should just pop up. Then we're going to take our tool and pop it in under here until we get both sides lifted up just enough. Push these in and then finish taking it out. So now we have two T20 screws again. We're gonna need that T20. Take these two screws out. Once you have the screws out, then you can just lift up, start from the side closest to you and pull up. So once you have it out, you just want to carefully pull the panel out and tilt it to the side so that you can gain access to all the connectors. So disconnect this connector, disconnect the cigarette lighter, take your screwdriver, put it in, pops off, and then disconnect the connectors up here for the clock and the climate control. The kit should have these 4 wires here, and these are for your lights. You're going to want to route it from the driver's side in this way, up through here, and then also go to the passenger side for the footwell light. These tubes are what's going to give you your light. You should have 2 of them. They go right here and they just snap into the console like that. They do only go in one way, so make sure that you have it on the right way, left to right, before you snap them in, or else they won't go in. So once you have everything installed and you have all your connectors hooked up, you want to put the console back in. Start with the top and make sure it locks in. Then place it down, make sure all your connectors are plugged in before you do this, and just give it a push here. And it should lock back into place. You'll know it's in the right spot if these holes line up again. Now we're just going to put our screws back in and pop the silver trim back in. And as far as installing it, it's pretty straightforward. Just push it in until it locks in. For the passenger side, there's only one little screw right here. The rest is just clips, and this panel comes down. There's a little hook there on the end of the panel. You just need to move it over to the right, and then you can pull this panel down. And then your light is going to be right there where that wire harness is going. Now that we have the battery hooked up, you should see that the light turns on right away. And to change the color, you hold the back button and then push either one of these buttons, and it will change the color. And then you can lower the brightness here and raise it here.